All right. Well, this is great. Thank you for being here, Jamie and Vesna,
Hmm.
CMHC, and as we talked over the last week or so, I've been, as I told you, I've walked up and down the halls of my office saying, "This is amazing. You CMHC here. We're going to talk to them," and I've been really excited about this webinar. And thank you for being here. So I'll get to it, and what I'll do is I'll set the stage, and then I'm going to pass it over to you guys now to
Sure.
introduce yourselves.
Thanks for having us, though.
Oh no, this is really great. So I'm Aaron Graven. I'm one of the co-founders of Bondi Energy along with Belinda Gilby. And Bondi Energy's focus is to retrofit multifamily and commercial buildings with heat pumps and other energy efficiency equipment. Effectively, we're into these buildings to increase energy efficiency and decarbonize, reduce greenhouse gas emissions in order to increase values for landlords and to meet ESG and net zero targets. And part of our job is to really thread together all of the different technologies that to decarbonize, and also to thread together the financial instruments. And what I've been really excited about is CMHC's MLI Select program, because it is, from my perspective, one of North America's premier financial instruments to help decarbonize on the ground. So decarbonization is a ground game. It's one building at a time, one unit at a time. And the CMHC has a program. And we've all had, I don't, if you had a mortgage, you probably had CMHC insurance. Well, CMHC also provides that insurance to multifamily landlords. And this program is designed to help increase the adoption of greenhouse gases for building owners, multifamily building owners, to really reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and some amazing perks to do so. And understanding that's hard, because there's often a disconnect between the landlord and CMHC. You have to go through your financial advisor, which is really important to do. So this webinar is to sort of demystify it for the building owner and for other people. So I'm going to introduce my special guests today, Vesna Spahar and Jamie Shipley, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. I'm going to hand this entire program over. Sorry, there it is. There's the presenters. I apologize. To introduce themselves, and Vesna is really going to talk about the program, and I'm going to keep poking into that program about the climate portion of it, and how multifamily landlord can get there by retrofitting their buildings with heat pumps and other energy efficiency equipment.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. I'll go first. I'm Jamie Shipley from Outreach and Capacity Development. My job at CMHC is usually the first on scene to events like this. I do talk about all our programs that we have. I know Aaron's very excited about MLI Select, so that does fall under my purview. However, I was lucky enough to have Vesna available today, and I'll let Vesna introduce herself, as she's going to give the presentation on my behalf, and I'll be aboard to support any questions and discussion that we might have. But Vesna, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, do you see my screen? Like the full
Yes.
screen? I'm just going to test moving forward. Do you see the moving forward back? All right. Thank you. Now I'm going to introduce myself. So my name is Vesna Spahar. I'm senior specialist. I support multi-unit NHA approved lenders. So my clients are lenders, and Jamie's clients are borrowing groups or proponents, just like yourself and Aaron and the other that are participating in the housing market. So I'm strictly and connected to the lender world, the insured lender world, and in my role I support lenders, specifically few lenders across the country at the national level, corporate level, but on the ground level, Ontario is my market, where I support. And you heard Jamie. all the questions, just going to him, not to me. Okay. Anyway, so let's take it on and unwrap this product that is exciting. Aaron spoke a little bit about it and how useful the program is and product. So as I'm going to be presenting, I am going to stop video for myself just to make sure that the screen moves, the screen flow is good and not to distract you when I'm speaking. So the product itself, as I say, it is different. It's good. It's helping Canadians with their needs. And as you know, CMHC mission is to help Canadians meet their housing needs. Now, this product is an important tool that encompassed within the National Housing Strategy and our insured mortgage products. And it will help and encourage the preservation and creation of affordable, accessible, and climate compatible units serving the diverse needs of all Canadians. And as I said, it is insured product, meaning this MLI Select product is available only through an insured lender. Whereas some of the products that Jamie and programs that Jamie has a broad knowledge of, those are the ones that are offered to as a direct loans directly to the borrowers by CMHC. So what is the product about? It has 3 goals or 3 targets, and it offers scaling flexibilities where borrowers can select between one or a combination of commitments to those 3 outcomes, which is affordability, climate compatibility, and that's the one that we're going to focus more today in today's presentation, and the accessibility. So as you can see, there are 3 priorities, and on the screen you see them all in the same, at the same time. But in order of importance, of course, affordability is extremely important, but so is climate compatibility. So they're equally weighed. If you'll see later on the screens, when it comes to the points and availability of the points, they're equally given the importance. Accessibility is a third. It's add-on to the first 2 targets for the borrowers to achieve more, more points through providing more options or more outcomes. Social, we refer to these targets as social outcomes. If you see the product itself, MLI Select, is available to all the shelter types, which would include standard rental buildings. Most of the time we see only standard rental buildings, but also single room occupancy shelter types are available. Supportive housing, retirement homes are also available for the MLI Select product. Student housing projects are available, but only for meeting the climate targets. Student housing does not fall within the affordability. To be eligible for MLI Select product, your project must have a minimum of 5 units, except retirement homes where we require 50 beds minimum. We also will consider projects that have non-residential space in them, and those that non-residential space cannot exceed 30% of the gross floor area or 30% of the lending value. And in terms of cases where borrowers have agreed to commit to social achievements, the flexibilities of this MLI Select products are designed to facilitate the construction of residential housing, purchase or refinance with improvement of existing residential, purchase of residential building, existing or new, refinance loans, and purchase and conversion of non-residential buildings to residential use. Here is where we most often see conversion of office buildings or hotels to residential use. So those are all eligible. Now I'm just going to read you, this is the slide where I'm actually going to read the slide because it is important to understand from MLI Select perspective. So from CMHC definition, what is considered new construction versus existing property. And the reason why this is important to understand is that we will assess the targets based on whether we consider project new or existing. So the new project, the existing project is any building that has earlier of achieving 12 consecutive months of stabilized effective gross income, which we also refer to as EGI, or 24 months after first occupancy. So if the building meets one of these two requirements, it's considered an existing building. And once a residential building is considered existing, it always refers to as an existing. New construction is anything that does not fall in the above definition.
And sorry, guys, I think
Yeah,
as we
go ahead.
go through this, part of my job is for the clients is to take the definitions and make sure they apply. So I appreciate you going through this and setting this up. This is important that the devil's in the detail.
Yeah, exactly. Now, slide 5 and 6. You'll see the slide 5, there is existing properties with social outcomes, and slide 6, there is a new construction. I just moved the slide. If you didn't notice, there is a different title. So an existing properties or new properties, this is where you actually see where we're illustrating how this product is product of choice. So as you can see, there are 3 outcomes under the MLI Select product, 3 outcomes under affordability and 3 under climate targets, which is energy efficiency and greenhouse gas reduction, and only a couple under accessibility. Remember, I said that accessibility is just add-on to the other 2 major targets. So based on the outcomes, so each outcome has multiple level of achievements and corresponding points for each outcome. So each loan insurance that is submitted through MLI Select must be assessed against these levels and awarded points. Total points determine available flexibilities, which you see right here. So for existing products, the goal is the highest point level achievable is 100 points. And for that, this offers the most flexibilities to the borrower, which is up to 95% loan to value, minimum 1.1 debt coverage ratio, up to 50-year amortization. Now, with the existing properties, there is a caveat here that for the amortization has to be supported with remaining economic life. That's going to be dictating the amortization. So if your remaining economic life is only 40 years in the building, you cannot get 50-year amortization. So it has to match remaining economic life. Limited recourse, that's available on projects on a case-by-case basis. And what it means is that there is no additional guarantees required for the insured mortgage aside from us having security against the building. So there is no additional recourse or guarantee required. Again, case-by-case basis, depends on the strength of the borrower, of course, and the project, but it's possible with the highest point level. And replacement reserve is discretionary. Now, with our previous product that we had, Flex, we called it Flex, replacement reserve was mandatory, and it was part of the calculation for the debt coverage ratio. With MLI Select, improvements with this product were that replacement reserve is discretionary, meaning it will be assessed based on the underwriter's discretion if the replacement reserve is required or not. But even if it is, it's not going to be impacting the DCR calculation of 1.1 requirement. So that is, you see the points for the existing property. I'm going to spend a little bit more time on the targets for energy efficiency in a few slides down, but this is just to show you what it looks like and what are the associated points with each level. And then for new construction, similarly, you have the same idea of having the highest point level from minimum 50 to 100, and then your amortization moves in increments of 5, and the limited recourse. The loan to cost, pay attention to this, that on the existing properties, the loan would be assessed based on loan to value. And depending on the points, goes from 85% to 95% maximum. Whereas for the new construction, our loan amount is assessed based on loan to cost. So cost to build the project. Premium is additional, it's additional incentive for the borrowers to go with MLI Select, even though we had increased the premium on June 19th, and last time when multi-unit premiums were increased was actually in 2003. So it was a long time since we touched these premiums.
So
And
that's
yeah,
that's the question. If you go back a slide to
sure.
give context that, and if I was doing if I'm doing a $43 million loan, and I did the quick math, that without 95, just kept it 60/40.
Okay.
The savings on a 50-year versus a 25-year at the current 6.5% interest rate is a savings of about $500,000. I'm sorry, almost $600,000 a year in mortgage payments, which is really impressive. Like you could save instead of paying $3.5 million, you're paying about 2.4 million. Like it's a major impact on that interest rate. Like where interest rates are rising, that really, I just did the quick math on it.
Yeah, but you see, what I'm showing right now, it's a premium schedule. It's a premium that is payable on the insured loan amount. It's a one-time premium. It can be added to the mortgage along with the fees. It is not, but what you're referring to, Aaron, a very good point, that insured mortgages typically will have much better interest rate than conventional mortgage, including MLI Select. They will have lower mortgage, a lower interest rate on, I don't know, this is something that would be negotiated between the borrower and the lender with interest rate, but typically we see that lenders are able to offer lower interest rate on insured mortgages than conventional, to your point, where the additional savings could be. But in terms of the premiums on its own, I mean, look at the difference, 85% for, let's say, if you have effective gross income met, meaning that your property is fully leased up and it's fully producing the income that we used in underwriting. That's what it's mean by EGI met. So for EGI met, up to 85%, your premium is 5.35%. And you'll notice for MLI Select, it's not linked to the loan to value or loan to cost. It's not linked to the actual risk. For MLI Select, the premium is linked to social outcomes. So again, going back to that, the more you give, the more you get. So 100-point social outcome for EGI Met premium is 2.55. That's that 3%, close to 3% difference that, Aaron, you were referring to. Like it's huge. Yes, thank you for pointing out.
So that would almost be $25,000 on $10 million loan.
Yeah, it is significant savings.
$1,000 on the same loan. So again, that's significant.
Yep, of course it is. Now I just, speaking of affordability, I'm pointing out some major points that are required for affordability. That's in case if the borrower wants to pair climate and affordability target. For affordability, we assess the affordable rent to be at 30% of median renter income for the market where the project is located. Affordability has to be committed for at least 10-year period. If the commitment to affordability is longer, there are additional points to be earned. But the levels of how many units need to be affordable for the duration of the affordability commitment period are different. For new, you see 10 versus existing properties, it's 40% of units for minimum 50 points and so on. All this, what I'm giving you right now, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on these charts, but because all of it, what I'm showing you right now is available on our website, these tables and charts, and on the last slide, I will have the website where you can just directly link to it. So in terms of the climate targets, here is where we're going to spend a little bit more time. So The outcome is assessed based on the improved performance over the baseline. That's the bottom line. So how better is the improved building over the baseline? And what is the baseline? For a new construction, the baseline or reference building, we also call it reference building. For the new construction, the improvement is evaluated based on the percentage of decrease in energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions. So pay attention to this. It's and, not or. So energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions relative to the energy requirements of the 2017 National Energy Code for Buildings. That's the NECB acronym. And that is part 3 multi-unit buildings. So pretty much 4 stories and up. Or the 2015 National Building Code, NBC, as applicable for other properties. So the percentage of decrease, if it's 20% better than the code that's required to be built, it's 30 points. For level 2, 50 points, and level 3 is 100 points. For existing properties, what is the reference building? The evaluation is based on a minimum percentage of decrease in energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions relative to pre-improvement or pre-retro consumption and emission levels of the existing building. So when we do the, when the engineers and professionals that are outlined on our required documentation checklist who can produce these reports and sign the attestations, which I'm going to speak to documentation in a few slides down. So when they attest and when they produce these reports, they need to do 2 models. So they have to do 2 modeling, and they have to show reports for 2 models, one for the reference building, which you just spoke about. It's either the code or the existing building, and one for the assessed or outcome of the changed building.
So at the end of this, what I've done is I put together sort of 2 types of buildings that we retrofit in, and to show how to get to the 100 points.
Oh, perfect.
So
Perfect.
that's going to be our that's the thing. That's what we're going to work through, because I know that building owners say, okay, well, I don't understand this. So I'm going to show it on a sort of a real time.
Perfect. That's just good, because the visual is always better than just, when you speak to it. So on accessibility, we have two levels, level 1, level 2. Again, on its own, you cannot get to MLI Select product just for making your building accessible. But speaking of certain products and certain building types, we do encourage accessibility on all of them. We have aging population. We have, even certain standard shelter types like senior residences or retirement homes. They already are meeting that accessibility requirement. So we just want to make sure that it's added. And also some of our national housing strategy programs that Jamie is very well versed in do reward borrowers for having buildings accessible. So we're trying to maintain that continuity with MLI Select as well. I'm just going to skim over what is documentation required for affordability should the borrower choose to go with affordability, which is encouraged. At application time, there is nothing aside from the rent roll that shows which units are affordable, that identifies units that have that affordable rent. And annually, the borrower provides that rent roll continuously to the lender to confirm these units continue to be affordable. On the climate, here's where I'm going to spend a little bit more time. For the climate targets, what's required is at application, the approved lender must submit to CMHC underwriting. So the borrower, you as a borrower, have to provide this documentation to your lender, because the CMHC will ask the lender to submit signed attestation, and this form is available on our website. Now that signed attestation is provided to the borrower, and it demonstrates, and the borrower provides it to the lender. It demonstrates that the borrower commitment to achieving the energy efficiency criteria or confirmation of those criteria, which they're saying they're going to achieve. These attestation documents are not completed just by the borrower. They're also completed. They have to be signed and completed by a professionals with energy modeling experience, such as we had listed 4 professionals on our website who can sign these attestations, such as professional engineer, architect, certified engineer technologist, or certified engineer manager. So professional engineer, architect, CET or CEM, any one of those that has experience with energy modeling.
So just for clarification, the professional is hired by the building owner or hired by the financial institution?
Oh, this is all hired by the borrower. Those are the services commissioned by the borrower because they are, ones that are applying for MLI Select. Lender only is a flow through for information to CMHC as attestation is provided. Now, for climate, there is additional document required in addition to the attestation, and this has to be available to the lender at a time of application, and that is the report. Now, the report has components. Again, it is listed, all of it, this is listed in the required documentation checklist, which is on our website. But the report has to include a brief executive summary. So this is important, that the engineer or professional who is doing the modeling provides a brief executive summary of the comparison of annual total energy consumption and GHG emission reduction performance between the case base, like the reference building I was talking about, and the proposed project or completed project, depending what's the situation, what's the scenario. It also has to have a summary of energy modeling of the proposed project with input and outputs, as well as the total building and breakdown of the estimates for each major category, energy and use. Overview of key physical and operational features of the base case and proposed building. I mentioned input and output files already. Supplemental calculations for energy contributions of renewable energy systems, if applicable. And also, it has to, but I have to mention here that we also will consider a third-party certificates for these climate targets. So it's if there is a list of third-party certificates that we have on our website that are acceptable in lieu of energy attestations and reports. And then within 60 days of final advance, approved lender obtains a signed attestation stating the climate criteria is satisfied. So again, the certified professional must accept to answer to sign that. And also, if there was a change in the model or the proposed project construction plans between the application and the final advance, that has to be provided. That information has to be provided to the lender, who's going to provide it to CMHC, and the professional must be able to answer all questions from CMHC and submit analysis and a revised documentation if need be, if there was that change in between. So and explain the differences. Yeah.
When choosing one, I know that I've had to ask, like, hey, have you done this before? And there's, I know that there's the top guys have all done it. There's definitely a level of sophistication able to provide everything that CMHC's done because they've done it before, and we're happy to always point people in that direction too.
Perfect. Yeah, that they definitely need some consultation if they haven't done it before. So glad you're mentioning that. For accessibility, again, documentation, what you see on the screen is also available on our website. Should you decide to add accessibility or plan, or your building already has accessibility, this is the what's required and how do we in terms of the documentation, what's required to prove that it is accessible. And that is end of my presentation. I mentioned that I'm going to give you the link or information where you can find the information I was mentioning for MLI Select product. So that's if you go straight to cmhc.ca/MLI Select, that will lead you to the microsite that has everything you need to know about MLI Select product. The multi-goal line is mostly for the lenders, but if you have burning question, then that might be directed there. But most of the time, you'll find all the information you need on the website regarding MLI Select on the website, or your lender. That's who you go first when you have any insurance, mortgage, financing related questions. Oops, Jamie. Whoa, I corrected your name. Really, I
You
did
corrected
correct it, didn't I?
Yes,
My,
Second try. Oh my God. But at least I'm so sorry, Jamie. I'm
no
sorry.
problem.
So at first I misspelled his name and I spelled it as Jaime on the screen. And then he pointed it out to me and I said, yeah, sure, I'll correct it. Yes, I did. I'm sorry. Sorry, but your email is
Email
correct.
is correct. Yeah,
So
you can contact me.
yeah, Jamie is your go-to guy for your borrowers are his clients, so you would probably want to direct program product related questions to Jamie directly as well. Anyways, is that good? Perfect. You took
I did. I took it, and it was really great. I got to tell you, like it was. Thank you
Okay.
so much. I'm trying to get my Oh, here we go. So I'm going to take what you said.
Okay.
And I'm going to apply it from a landlord's perspective on how they can attain 50-year amortization and as opposed to 25 or 30 years, and which would really impact their mortgage payments. And 95.5 on literally how to get to 95.5 loan to value, which would allow them to free up their money to buy other products. So Bondi Energy, again, we go into a building, a multifamily building, and we effectively take out the current heating system. And we do the full, we do the rebates, the incentives, we find financing, along with, of course, energy modeling, the impacts on cap rate. We do heat loss calcs, and we select all the equipment, and we do the full install and tenant management and back-end service. And we also, not just the heat pumps, but we also do windows, and we do insulation and EV charging and so forth. So all the things that cladding, all the things that MLI Select is looking for a multifamily landlord to do, is we do that. So there's this real sense of oh wow, this is a great financial model for it. But we have to explain it to our clients quite often. We have to bring it forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a model, and this is there are two types of buildings. So the first building we're going to talk about is electrically heated buildings. So in electrically heated buildings, we come in and there's baseboard heat. We take out the baseboard heat, put in heat pumps, and effectively we can get about a 50, sometimes 60% savings on the electrically in efficiency, which is really going beyond the 40%. And that's an automatic win. And on the gas heated side, I'll show you some of the math here. So if we took this 250 unit apartment building, we went from 4.2 million down to 2 million kilowatt hours, the 49% bulk meter savings, and that had a huge impact on net income for the building owner. But that was to get to your additional 40%. So and then the other challenge that we have is on the gas heated side. So so it's either electrically heated or it's gas heated. And these are the two types of buildings we tend to deal with in multifamily. So in gas heated, gas comes in through a boiler, we heat up a water, rad heat, or forced air. On the electrically heated side, the electricity comes in, it heats up a filament, heats up a room. So what I wanted to do is talk about how can you get how do you get to the 40% energy efficiency and the 40% GHG reduction to get 100 points, to get your 50-year amortization, to get your 95.5 LTV? So can you do this? Can you reach there just on energy and GHG retrofit? So I had to do some mental math and all the things that we know. So let's start with electric. So we already know I showed you what we could do on the electric on the previous slide. So there's the energy consumption. But now energy consumption is, and that's a definition that's not very clear on CMHC. And what I understand from CMHC is, you say, look, we're not going to define energy consumption. You need to hire the professional who's going to tell us what energy consumption is. So what we did is we went out to the energy professionals. We asked what energy consumption is, because we know what GHG reduction is. GHG reduction is eliminating gas. That's it. You eliminate gas, you reduce greenhouse gas emissions for the most part. I mean, we can argue about how clean the grid is and how dirty the grid is, but at the building level, if you eliminate gas, you're eliminating GHG reduction. You get 100%. If I take out gas boiler, put an air source heat pump, boom, we're done. But on the electrically heated side, it's about efficiency. So we get there, and this is existing properties. So in GHG reduction, the only other GHG in electrically heated building is the domestic hot water. So if you can replace your domestic hot water, the gas domestic hot water, with electric hot water, you get 100% greenhouse gas reduction. So if you have an electrically heated building, and by the way, the landlords are now looking at electrically heated buildings in totally different ways, because if you can reduce the energy efficiency by 50%, you can effectively, you still have that extra capacity to play with. You could put in 2 EV chargers for every unit you retrofit. But I actually got to 100 points really, really easily on the electrically heated side, as long as I can replace my gas domestic hot water. If we're really looking to impact greenhouse gas and to really impact 90% of the buildings in the marketplace, the real focus is fuel switching, and that's a bit tricky. Fuel switching at gas, there's very few buildings in North America that have actually gone from gas to electric. And the fundamental problem is that on the gas side, it doesn't matter if you're in Toronto, London, England, Chicago, or New York. If you want to fuel switch, typically you need to increase the electrical capacity to that building, because the building was built with gas to carry the heat load. So the electrical capacity that was given to that building is just the lights and plugs and some appliances. So you would have to go to that utility provider and say, okay, utility provider, I need to increase the capacity to my building. And the utility provider says, well, hold on a second. That's going to take you 18 to 24 months. And it's going to cost you $500,000. And the building owner will say, why is it $500,000? You say, well, I'm a utility provider and you have to pay $500,000 to get there. And that's not quite true, because there's lots of reasons why the utility providers actually have reasons, and they are justified, a lot of them. So how do I get this 40%? So in this case, it's really, the GHG is actually quite easy. You're going to replace the gas boiler with, the gas heating boiler for electric air source heat pumps, boom, 100% greenhouse gas reduction. But energy consumption is now a bit of a challenge. But it can only be a challenge in the definition. So for example, if we were just looking at it from an electricity perspective, you could change the lights, you can put in more efficient appliances, but you're not going to get 40%. But the definition of energy consumption, from what I've seen, I'm sorry, I'm not asking questions, I'm just telling stuff. This is what I found out, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. Is energy consumption is the full utility input. So it's from the baseline. So utility input prior to was both gas and electric. And it turns out gas is highly inefficient. And this is what I got from talking to the professionals, that the gas is 0.9%, has a 0.9% coefficient of efficiency. Electric baseboard heat has a 1-to-1 coefficient. That means that electricity comes in with electric baseboard heat, heats up a room. So gas is actually less efficient than electric baseboard. But a heat pump is 3 times more efficient than a electric baseboard heat, which means that you're getting 3.3 times more efficient by switching. So there is a way to do this on the fuel switching to get you the MLI Select points. And now that's what I took from all of our conversations, that on both the electrically heated side, there is a path, it's doable. And there is a path on the gas heated fuel switching side as well, in order to get to your 100 points. I thought that was really amazing that I was able to get to this place where I could go to my clients and say, look, we figured it out. And I understand CMHC can't attest to this. CMHC relies on the professionals. And Vesna, you want to talk, say, you should repeat what I just said, because that's what you said to me. Am I right? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute still. Oh, okay. All right. So, okay, I'm going to move on.
Sorry, I'm off mute.
Okay.
Which part did you?
I think,
because I spoke. I talk a lot. I said few things. Which part?
I think it's very important that that the borrower understands that CMHC is not telling you what is or what isn't greenhouse gas reduction or energy consumption. The professional that you hire, the energy manager, the engineer,
yes,
telling CMHC.
Correct. Very much.
You're never going to walk into a building.
Right.
You're going to rely on, and they're going to sign what do you call it? An attestation.
Attestation, yes.
Attestation.
That the borrower has met these requirements and has reached these 100 points. So I think that's really important, that the building owner knows that you got to find that an engineer that can go into that building and say, yes, if you replace your water, your from gas to electric, you're gonna win. And we do that, by the way. That's part of Bondi, part of what we do. And that if you put in air source heat pumps, you'll get this as well. Okay, I got some questions. I think the first one was sort of discussed already. How do you apply for it? But can a landlord contact you directly?
They can contact me.
That is not going to contact you.
Me?
Vesna deals with
chances
the
are,
banks.
Yeah, my client is a lending financial institution, so NHA approved lenders, and we don't have capacity to answer all the questions from the borrowers. That's what Jamie and his team are there for.
Yeah.
Like, we have our different roles.
Yeah, I'll explain a little bit. Like, I do have a team that works with me as well across the country, and we're usually first on scene. So anybody on this call that is thinking about using this program, you get a hold of me. One of the advice I'm going to tell you is what Vesna would say. It's an insured product. You need to work with an approved lender. So find an approved lender. Eventually, you may end up speaking to Vesna through the lender, or the lender might end up speaking to Vesna about this. Maybe I don't know how often you talk about specific projects, Vesna, if you just do high level promotion of the products, but yeah, that's the way it would go down.
One of the things that we see on the ground is trying to time retrofits with the mortgage expiry dates for refinancing purposes. And I can tell you that, again, if I'm in fuel switching position, I have, it can take me 18 to 24 months in order for Toronto Hydro or any hydro provider, utility provider anywhere to increase the capacity, electrical capacity in the building to allow for heat pump installs. So, that's a really big challenge. Like all these multifamily landlords really want to do it, but timing it with, and again, you're talking about, what we do on the ground is a ground game. Like it's one unit, it's one apartment at a time, one building at a time, between $500 to $3 million. So on a $75 million building.
The timeline depends on the application time and the completion or intended work on the property. So, sorry, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, because it just got a pop-up on my screen to say that my internet is unstable. So the timeline where improvements or constructions are undertaken prior to the request of loan insurance. So you do improvements and retrofit prior to making an application for the loan insurance. Documentation confirming the achievement of the criteria is required as part of that loan insurance application, as I mentioned, but work must have been completed within 12 months of the request. So no more than 12 months, the work has to be completed from the application. If you are looking for insured mortgage MLI Select to help you with improvements, to finance the improvements, then documentation confirming that achievement of the criteria is required within 60 days of the last advance, because you could have progress advances for your, let's say, retrofit for refinance with an improvement. So 60 days from the last advance is when we require that documentation proof that it's been done. But you could also have a situation where, for example, you purchase a property and you purchase it with MLI Select product, and then you do your retrofit on that property on your own with your own financing, your own money. So when these retrofits are completed with the borrower's own resources or non-insured loan that you might get in, for completing those, documentation confirming achievement of the criteria is required within 24 months of the last advance. So there are 3 different timelines as to when you can come to CMHC for MLI Select to get recognized for the climate target achievement. Again, those 3 timelines are also mentioned in our documentation that's on a website. So you don't have to memorize it, but the definition is there.
I know that one of the things that happens in the northern climates that we're in is winter, and there's this anxiety about getting heat figured out before winter comes. So if one of the challenges we find is that when a multifamily landlord is facing an end of life boiler or end of life system, and this is the time where they're going to make that generational change to go to heat pump and to do that, it tends to come on sometimes very quickly. And quite often, like, okay, my boiler is about to die, let's go to, or my system's about to die, let's go to heat pump. And which is literally would meet the MLI Select, but they have to do that. They can't wait for the expiry to happen. So that's one of the things that when you're looking as a building owner, timing your retrofits, you should be trying to figure it out within start it 18 months out prior to the expiry of your mortgage. But if you've got an emergency, I don't think MLI Select, unless you get lucky in timing, will be something that you can apply for. Just not right now.
We could have MLI Select in second position as a second mortgage. If someone has a first mortgage that is not due yet and they need this retrofit, as you mentioned, they could have MLI Select in second position.
Wow. Well, that's a bit of a game changer. Because
again, so this is the reason why the borrower would want to always check the financing options with the lender, maybe in conjunction with consultation with you, when when you recommend what needs to be changed, how much would it be, how much time it requires. That's the important to have lender at the table for the borrower to see what are the financing options and how they fit into the MLI Select from that perspective.
And I mean, just for time, I'm going to make sure that we end on the hour mark. So I'm going to keep it going really quickly because I think I can see if there's any other questions. I can't see it right now on my screen, but I'll get there. One of my, I'm going to, before I go off on more questions, I am going to say that, I really think this program has the potential to really, as a financial instrument, to really impact decarbonization and greenhouse gas emissions. 40% of our greenhouse gases comes from real estate, and I have to tell you, there's a federal program. It has a lot to do. It has a lot to go forward on. I'm sure there's going to be tweaks in time. I can tell you that one of the challenges is always those people with knowledge, so that the financial institutions, many there are experts at it at the financial institutions. Getting that access to information is from the institutions is critical, and constant communications with your financial institution is important. If you're a building owner and you're trying to work one financial institution against another, I would be talking to them both about being MLI Select certified, so that they can offer it to you. So if you are looking at borrowing money, that I think that's important that the financial institution advertises that they can do that to the borrower. I'm not the last question. We talked about that in the last slide. I'm just going to stop it here, and I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to go to see if there's any questions. Do I have any questions? No. Let's see. Nope. We have no questions. I really do appreciate your time. Is there anything else that you would like to leave, like to communicate? Any parting words that you
Jamie?
Well, yeah, okay. So thanks for the opportunity to address this group. Just keep in mind that the program, it's our answer to being flexible. Obviously, you're probably looking at an existing building, whether it's gas or electricity. The list of professionals that you can use, and the definition of our energy efficiency, how we define energy efficiency, can be found on our website. And the software that the professional can use is identified on there. It depends on what the building, if it's a Part 3 building or a Part 9 building. It depends what software you can use. And yeah, I just hope that people like Aaron, I hope you get some good applications, some good MLI Select applications out of doing this. I do believe you work nationally.
Yep.
Right? Yeah.
And yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And,
So
and
that,
yes, nationally. And again, if you have a client that wants to have a conversation about how to attain MLI Select, Bondi Energy is here for you. We're sort of up front, really making the market and setting the market, and this is part of the services that we offer. We get the rebates, we get the incentives, we help ensure that there's an adoption of electrification, and I think everybody's interests are really aligned in the same way. So
I also just wanted to say thank you for having us, and thank you for fighting the climate changes and climate making it better for all of us. It's all of our roles, not only CMHC. This product is just helping bringing it to the forefront, but ultimately it's all of us doing, as you said, Aaron, you said one building at a time, one one house at a time. So one step at a time, and collectively we will get there. So thank you for the opportunity to address your audience.
Yes, thank you, Aaron.
All right, well, have a great rest of the day, and we'll I'm sure Vesna, Jamie, we're gonna talk more. Jamie, I'm gonna bug you all the time now, unfortunately. You've got your phone number. You gave me your cell.
No problem.
It's probably a mistake. But Vesna, I'll talk to you soon.
There, guys.
You got it. Bye-bye.